Good afternoon and welcome. We're the Polk County Film Initiative. We're here at the station today and we have a special guest with us, Frank CALO. How you doing, Frank?
Good to be here, Lavin. Thank you.
That's great to be here. Frank's down here from New York City. He is a writer, director, and film producer. So here we're going to talk a little bit about the film.
Okay. First of all, I want to just say thank you to you, to the organization, Bo and Kurt, and your whole organization for having us here. It is a treat, it's an honor, and it's a place to show the work again. And you know, this film won the Tribeca Film Festival. We were nominated. We were being considered for best foreign film for an Oscar for this one. And to have it out here again, to be seen again by other people, it's fabulous to have you guys here. And I think what you guys are doing here is wonderful, and people need it. And the whole world needs it, you know. So I want to thank you guys first of all. So.
Well, on behalf of Tryon, North Carolina, Polk County, we welcome you to our little slice of heaven here in North Carolina, Western North Carolina. So where we want to bring film production to this area. You know, we want to make this a cinematic environment for people to want to come shoot here, not just for our scenery and not just for what we have on the outside, but it's the people that we want to engulf in this opportunity. So thank you for coming down here.
Yeah, it's a wonderful spot too, because I remember doing a lot of filming in New Jersey. I live in New York City, but we used to shoot a lot in New Jersey when they had a tax incentive. And it's the film commissioner there worked their butts off for 20 years building that up before they took it away again, unfortunately. And but it was because of two people like yourselves and Kurt, and there was only two guys running it. And they really built, and they supported the filmmakers. By the time they left, they had 5 major TV shows. Damages were there. I did The Believer there. I did a lot of film, The Cookout with Queen Latifah, Danny Glover. I did them there because I love shooting in Jersey, and they offered a tax incentive. But it was because of people like yourselves that really supported the filmmakers. And I mean support in regards to like when we lost the location for The Believer one time, a synagogue, because we shot out in synagogues for The Believer. Ryan Gosling started that film. And they were right there for us. I called them up. I said, listen, I'm shooting tomorrow. I lost my location. They said, don't worry, we got 20. Use our name. They made the calls for us, the introductions. Boom, it was done. So that's how they got behind it. But it started in a small space, 2 guys, and then unfortunately, 20 years later, after all their hard work, they took it away, and they're suffering for it. Yep. Creatively, financially, aesthetically, Jersey's economically. I mean, film brings in so much business to the town because people don't realize, these politicians, they don't realize that it serves for the guy who runs the gas station down the street, the guy who runs the hotel, the guy who runs the restaurant, the hardware store. Everything goes into it, the hotels, the food, the services, everything, and then the fun, the people that you meet, and it's a wonderful environment, and to have that. But anyway, about Here and There. So what would you like to know about Here and There while I'm here?
And over there.
I find it interesting.
You know, I did do a movie called Now and Then too. You know, so but anyway, that was with Demi Moore. That was
With who?
Demi Moore. Yeah.
Well, now I know that you're a writer. You're an accomplished writer. I know you're an accomplished director because I've worked with you in the past.
Yeah.
Now the producer. Now there's several producers on the film, but you were a lead producer. You were the one that Darko contacted initially to go to Serbia. Tell us about that.
Well, it came to me through another producer who's a very good friend of mine now through this process. His name is Falad, and he teaches at the School of Visual Arts in New York City. He's the head of the film department there, which is, he runs a wonderful program. Well, through him, because I got to know him somehow, but then he introduced me to Darko. But Darko needed to release some of the money for the film, because Serbia, at the time, Belgrade, where they were the Arts Center was trying to build up their culture, also since they had the war in Belgrade, since they had the wars and stuff like that. So they said, well, let's build it up through the arts. So they dumped money into the arts, the culture center. So some of them, but they needed an American producer to help, push it through.
That's a good example right there of a proactive government bringing film.
Yes, and they were very active in supporting that when we were being considered for best foreign film for that year's Oscars, and we got beat out by Argentina because Here and There takes like 3 weeks in. We shot 3 weeks in New York and 6 weeks in Belgrade. the Argentina says, well, there was too much English for best foreign film. And now we're going like, well, what about Australian films? What about English films? What about this? And then, of course, and Serbia put, my point is that Serbia put a big push behind here and there. And it's actually one of the biggest films in Eastern Europe right now. It swept Eastern Europe. And then now all over Europe. And we did a good market here in the U.S. as well.
What was your experience being a filmmaker, producer, being on the ground in a place like Belgrade? What was your experience like working with the community out there, and the film community, and just the people, the extras?
They're just as hungry as we are when it comes to filmmaking, when it comes to anything in the arts. What we want, they want. Let me just backtrack that a little bit. What's important about what happened is when I met with Darko. Darko is a very good director. He's the one who directed this.
Why you are fucking us?
I ain't marrying anybody over there before I get the money.
And he knew exactly what he wanted from the very beginning, which does make it a producer's job very easier. Not easier, but very easy, but very easy. And it takes a weight off our shoulders because Darko has a strong vision. He has a very strong vision of what he wanted. And then he shared that with his director photographer, who was from Germany, by the way. The DP's from Germany. It was wonderful. And we shot it on one of the first Sony equivalent to the Red cameras at that time. Yeah, it was a beautiful camera. And then David Thornton came involved. David loved it. And then they got so involved with it. And then that's when I got involved. So we all got involved in the creative process. My job was to make sure that I can help them execute the creative aesthetics of the film, logistically and financially and support but rarely Darko ever had to come to me and say, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that shot? He knew exactly what he wanted, and he knew and what you see on that film, or when you see it, people who are going to see it, you'll see it. That's what his vision was exactly what you see. And so that led me to Ghostbusters 2. I was just one of the second ADs on Ghostbusters 2. And
I did not know that.
Yeah. I still have my Ghostbusters jacket.
That Bill Murray thing again.
Yeah. I still have my Ghostbusters jacket.
Wait. Did you say you did Ghostbusters 2?
Ghostbusters 2, man.
I gotta be in this thing too.
And I still have the jacket, and I thought I lost it because somebody asked. I think when you were there recently, and someone was at my house, and they said, do you still have the jacket? And because it's worth a lot of money now. I went, yeah, I think so. And I went to where I thought it was in the closet, and I said, it wasn't there. I said, oh, did I give it away? Did I give it to somebody? And then finally I found it. I said, oh yeah, here it is.
Wait a minute, you know Bill Murray.
I worked with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and
Bill
all
Murray
those
keeps
guys.
following us around from one film to the next.
But I was the second AD. Back then we didn't have computers. Back then we had to do everything by hand, paperwork, the shooting schedule, the paper, all the call sheets, all the production. As a second AD, I was in charge of all the paperwork. Most of my job was in the trailer, doing all the paperwork. Okay, the great AD or the director would come out and say, okay, tomorrow we're going to change it to 6:30, the call time. Then I have to call everybody up. 6:30, it's been changed, but it was fun. I was learning. You wanted to be there. But my job was to get the actors from the set as well. So I used to always interact with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd and all them. And those guys were pissers, and we had no script. There was no script on that one.
Really?
It was all improv. It was like, and you're watching these guys do it, and you go, oh my God. But that's what helped me get into the DGA.
Sure.
But like everybody else, like even Lavin, you have to start from the bottom when you came up, because film schools don't teach you what the real world should be teaching you, grad school, I was in grad school. So, yes, I think it's important for undergrad possibly, but maybe grad school, if you can learn and get connected with the actual shoot or in the field, in the business, which is probably New York or California, then that's just as good as grad school, because that's what eventually you have to learn. You have to start learn how to make money on it. Yeah. If you don't learn how to make money on it, then you get stuck. And then I came up from there to second AD, first AD, line producer, production manager, directing, writing, and then I worked with some of the best old school people, producers, like Mike, some of these guys who did Devil's Advocate and all these famous movies, and they're tough. And if you didn't know what you were doing on that set, you're gone. Yeah. It was just as simple as that. Yeah. That's how it was back then, and it's not like that anymore. But we learned. And you did yes sir, no sir, blah, 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 yes ma'am, no ma'am. You just did
respectful, but
it.
it was-
Yeah, and that's how you got hired for your next job. And so it's and that was one of Ghostbusters II was one of the first big budget movies the U.S. ever had. It was $50 million, which was one of the biggest budgets at the time, ever. And now they're crazy.
It's grossing too.
Yeah, and you know the difference between working with Here and There, which was a lower budget, came in at $1 million total by the time we started to the very, very end. The difference between working with low budget and high budget, to me, is only that you have the money to buy things. You could buy it. Like Ivan Reitman wanted a crane for 30 days. It was a big crane at the time, and it's a techno crane that just came out, and it's by the day it rents like back then it was like $8,000 a day, $100 a day with the manpower to run it, and he wanted it for 30 days. And I remember the producer going, well, you know, it's going to cost us like $10,000 to $20,000, so I need it. He only used it twice throughout the whole shoot, but he wanted it there in case he needed it. With Here and There, you knew you had this budget and schedule, exactly know when you're going to use it, when it's going to be in, when it's going to be out, because that's the difference.
Do I get a film discount or something?
Yeah.
What was the budget on Here and There?
Here and There, from the beginning to the end, by the time we started and finished, it came in at about $1 million, including distribution and marketing stuff. And production value came in about $500,000, and then the rest went to
What's
to
the
where.
gross on that, you know?
But the gross is pretty high. I mean, it's a very well-known film throughout Europe and the United States. And I think it's one of the most clean films in a long time, because it's great storytelling.
Yeah.
And there's no violence, there's no sexual, there's no nudity. I mean, it just worked. And that was because what Darko wanted in this film. And I think the most important thing that you can tell directors or producers or writers, it's the story. And you have to know what you're doing when you get in there. You know, and you're a director, you're an actor, you're working.
Well, the premise of the story is so simple and elegant
Yeah.
that you can
I'm in
do
this now, by
that.
the way.
You stopping?
No, I'm in this now, okay?
You're always in this.
I'm being filmed.
Just physically or?
I'm in the interview now, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm listening to all these movies that he's involved in.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody told me you knew Marlon Brando or something like that?
Yeah, it turned out that I was the last director to direct Marlon Brando and Shelley Winters together in one movie. I was telling you this earlier. And how it was a while back. It was like in like 2000 something. And I never realized it until my daughter, who's an actress now, she goes to acting class, and she told the acting teacher that. And then the acting teacher said, oh my God, I want to meet your father. and then she told me, I was going like, wow, that's right. I'm the only one. And it was an Italian film called La Bomba, meaning the bomb. And it was Vittorio Guzman's son. Remember Vittorio Guzman, the director, the famous director? He was married to Shelley Winters. Well, he was a famous director in Italy, and in the 50s, 40s, and all that. And I think he was married to Shelley Winters at one time. And it was his son's first debut. So the father, of course, pulled all the strings you can think of. We had Shelley Winters, we had Marlon Brando, we had all those old school people, actors that were wonderful from the 50s, from Place in the Sun, and that's how they got involved.
Was Brando fat at the time?
Yeah, it was at his last days. Yeah, and I just remember and I never really got nervous on the set, but when you know, and my AD at the time. I was dealing with Shelley Winters, and so I was talking to her, and then my AD came up and whispered in my ear, "He's here." And I said,
That's gotta be.
and I looked up, and there he is. I'm like, damn, man. I walked up, and he goes, listen. Only thing I could tell him was I just said to him, I said, you know, there's not much I'm going to tell you that you're going to do anyway. And he goes, you know what? I like you already. You know? And then I was telling you the story between him. I could tell it because they both passed away now. But Shelley Winters was older at the time too, and she was complaining that she couldn't see. So we had to have an assistant there. Wherever she knew, wherever we moved her, we had to have an assistant there, which was proper. And she was fun. She was always talking about all her stuff, but she was fun. But she kept saying, I can't see, I can't see, I can't see. So we were always protecting her there. But then we pulled up Marlon Brando's trailer next to her trailer, and she's up in the distance. And I'm talking to her, and she looks past, she goes, is his trailer bigger than my trailer? I went, I thought you can't see. How can you see that? I thought you can't see.
That's why I'm asking. Because if it is.
And you have to lie or?
No, I just looked at her, and that was going through my head. And then I said, oh, yeah, no, it's the same. Don't worry, it's the same. You know, she was okay. And then, but it was a great experience. And then I realized just recently that, you know, that could be a trivial question. You know?
Frank, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Since I am now in the interview, ladies and gentlemen,
I see that.
okay. What's the De Niro connection?
I did two things with De Niro. I did the cookout with Queen Latifah and Danny Glover for Lionsgate. I eventually went from my working with the studios. I worked with New Line, and then I worked for as a production executive for Lionsgate. And so Lionsgate would, you know, we would greenlight a project. They would greenlight a project. They said, okay, you're assigned to this, you're assigned to this, you're assigned to this. So then I was a New Yorker, so I did a lot of the New York stuff. So Queen Latifah and I were doing a movie together called The Cookout, which did very, very well for Lionsgate. And then De Niro was shooting Godsend at the time, and they had problems with it. So we were just wrapping up The Cookout, and he said, Frank, can you jump over and take over this for the Godsend? So I said, well, okay, I don't know if I can. But he goes, all right, let me send somebody else. And De Niro did not like this person, who I don't know what happened in the room. The guy was trying to be impressive or whatever he was trying to do, and De Niro just said, I can't work with him. So then he goes, well, okay, let me introduce you to Frank. And so I went in there in his office, and we started talking, and then we did it. So my whole crew actually rolled over from the cookout right over to there. So we were actually already set up. We just had to change accounts, you know, for banking reasons. Yep. But then we rolled over, and he's a great person to be with. He's a great actor. And he tells you what he wants, and you got to have it there for him. In his trailer it's all mirrors, because costume is very important to him. So when he gets into his costume, he's looking at, you know, whatever he does in there, he does with there. And the hardest time we ever had with him is because it was a big production, we just had to tell the city you get permits. We had to tell some permit people that we were at one place when we were actually at another because of the paparazzi. And one time the paparazzi found out where we were at on the Brooklyn side of Manhattan, of New York, and they were going crazy. We were shooting, and we had security. We had armed security. We had security, and this one guy was running back and forth. De Niro's sitting like where you're at. I'm sitting at the set. I'm watching that, and this guy's going, Robert, you owe me. And he's going back, and he's crazy. I'm looking at him. I said, you know this guy? And he goes,
Sitting out there, and
it's like back there. It's like, and the set's here, and security's going, what do you want me to do? And the guy's going, you owe me. He's running back and forth. You know, the security put up umbrellas, you know, and he goes, you can't hide me in front of an umbrella. And Robert went like this. He goes, come here. And he goes, you see that guy? I said, yeah. He goes, I gave that guy the exclusive to my wedding to shoot it, and he still acts like that. And I said, you know, I told security, get him out of here. Yeah. And security went over, and literally, he's going, Robert, you owe me. It's like, why do that? You know, but Robert De Niro is, and I actually know Robert De Niro back when we were when they were doing the Raging Bull too. So but that was,
wow,
that sounds something.
Yeah.
I'm learning more about you.
I'll tell you one of the best times shooting in Manhattan was I worked with Madonna too.
With who?
Madonna, and it was a music video it was a music wraparound for Nickelodeon. And Nickelodeon now just use most of their in-house staff, you know, kids coming up and stuff like that for the crew. But when they get the big jobs, they call the outsiders. So they called me. I knew somebody. They called me in, and Times Square was the old Times Square, not like it is now. So it had the islands. It still had those islands there. Remember those islands?
Lots of color.
Yeah, a lot of color. And I was so busy. And Madonna was at the prime of her career, and we kept her away. We were in the middle of Times Square, daytime, and the scene was with her coming out doing the number right there. And I was so busy setting it up because it was like doing this, doing that, making sure that was there. We had to have a band here, we had to do this, and we were in the middle of the islands. We did it proper. We had a big old crane, we had trucks, we had everything, and security, the proper police force, and so we're busy, and we're finally because I wanted to shoot at magic hour. You know, I wanted to shoot it when the sun's coming down, the lights are coming up, and so I said, okay, we're ready. Everybody ready? Everybody's ready. Bye-bye. We took hours prepping it. I said, okay, let's bring her out. So we bring Bernard out, and as we're bringing her out, I'm talking to her like I'm talking to you, okay, this is what we're doing, da, da, da. And I said, she goes, well, where's this? I said, well, this is here. And then everything was working nice. And she goes, all right, let's do it, let's do this. I said, you want a rehearsal? You want to walk through it? She goes, no, let's just do it. So I said, all right, let's do it. And I turned around, I said, all right, everybody get ready, we're going to do it. And I had a breather. And I looked around Times Square, and there were thousands of people all around. I didn't even notice they were there. They were just like all around because of her. Because of her, yeah. And cops were like busy. All right, stand back, cross over here. And I'm like, damn. I said, where did these people come from? I said, where did these come from? And then I turned, I said, fuck it. And I turned down. I said, all right, you guys ready? I call it action. And then it would just hit at the right time. The sun was going down, the lights were coming up, and she's another wonderful artist to work with. You know, you would think that she would be difficult. She's not. She's a professional. She's a perfectionist. And she's wonderful. She was wonderful. But that was a great experience.
Hey Frank, I have a question from the technology side of the equation. You know, you talked about the red camera and all that.
Yeah.
People are doing movies with small cameras.
They're doing them now with the 5Ds and the 7Ds. Those what's that? There's an action picture that did. They just used the what's it called? The 7Ds, the new 7Ds. And they use like, you get, they're reasonable, you can buy them.
Yeah.
So they bought like, this was a big film, this was a big studio picture too. This was a big studio picture, so they had like 16 of them. It was a big stunt scene. I forgot, it's Doom, I think Doom 2, I think it was called. Something like that. Anyway, they had them all laid out, and yeah, for lower, I just did, I was running a TV network back in last year, from November to January. Okay. And I realized that's all you needed to shoot, because it's going straight to broadcast television, computers, or TV.
What's with all the price, the high cost of doing these things? Is you have to pay the stars?
For what?
I mean, why do movies cost so much?
Well, you have to use
below the line.
Yeah, above the line. There's a lot of. I'm going to say this very, very carefully. Just because you have the save the D doesn't mean you can shoot a feature. I had somebody come to me and goes, well, we can shoot this feature for very, very low. I said, yeah, well, how'd you plan on doing that? He pulled out his iPhone. And he said, you could do it here. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm still talking about value. I'm still talking about production value. You still need the lights. In order I still love film. I'm a film guy. I'll always be a film guy. If I have the budget, I shoot film. If I don't have the budget, I'll shoot the red cameras or the new Sonys or Panasonics. The only difference is that they're interchangeable lenses. You can change to film lenses. So you can use film lenses on those digital cameras, and that's the big difference. That's one of the biggest differences. But you still have to light it the same way. You still have to have the depth of field. You still need the crew, the manpower, the cranes, the production value. But most of all, you need the story. I think a lot of kids are thinking way too out of the box here, thinking that, oh, all I need is this camera now, or I need this little camera to make it work. That's not filmmaking. That's home movie still to me. I mean, filmmaking is still a process, and it does take professionals. I'm on the set. I'm a person that came up from the ranks that believes that if you're the director, the producer, or the writer, nobody on that set should know your set better than you, or what's going on. But, however, I do delegate. My production designer, my DP, my actors, my makeup person, the art director, we're all in sync. And you want the best, because we're all talking about aesthetics, but we're forgetting a major factor here. As a producer, we're still responsible for the money. We're responsible for the money that we're out there trying to get, the investors. So when something happens bad, it doesn't go on the production designer's shoulders or the actor's shoulder, it goes on my shoulders. So I'm carrying that. I think one of the best lessons you could tell someone young is they said that when they present their projects for raising money, they say, oh, here's my budget. They don't realize that budget, once you lock that budget in with your investor, you're contractually binded to that contract. That's how they lose their films. That's how they mess up the creative control of their films, because they don't know what they're doing, and they'll just throw out a number, and the investor says, okay, and then when they need more money or they get behind, then the investor or the studio has the right to come and say, guess what? You're out. We're taking it over from now.
What is, in your opinion, one of the worst things going on as far as the movie industry today?
It's a very good question, by the way. Very, very good question. I think what's happening, and we had this conversation many times before, I think, and I didn't realize this until I was running the TV network. What's happening is people are not, around the country, are not going to movie theaters anymore.
Yeah,
Especially in New York, because places like New York, California, they're outpriced. Here's $8, which I thought was great, but still it's high for this. And so you take a family of 4 out, husband, wife, 2 kids, plus concession, plus food, all that kind of stuff. You're costing them $100 a night. What's happening now, and this is where the studios have their eyes at, and all the people have their eyes at, is what's happening now is bringing it to your home. People nowadays have 60-inch TVs, 40-inch TVs. They have sound systems that you can sit back and you can watch it, you can replay it. HBO and all those cables, they got it right. Because, but they said, and I remember when HBO first came out, they were doing movies like the Hallmark Hall of Fame movies. It almost killed them. They were too Hall. But then someone said, listen, we got a new program director, let's go edgy. That's when they started doing Carnival, 6 Feet Under, and The Sopranos. And then they started seeing that was working. And then what happened, they said, what's working here is good story. You could bring nowadays you could bring great actors in without paying them the Hollywood studio prices. Because they want to do it because it's good work, good production value, good directing, good writing. And if you look at the shows we got now, Game of Thrones, Homeland, Breaking Bad, pick any of those, those shows that are working. And then in New York Times, I read an article the other day, and it said someone was complaining there's still too much violence in HBO movies or sexual, content. You know what HBO answer got it right. They said, well, guess what? You're paying for it. Turn it off. And I said, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant because that's so true. Yeah. And that's where I think, but now as an audience member, you're at home, you're with your family, you can watch the movie, you want to stop it, you can stop it. If you love it, you can watch it again the next day because they replay it. Right. And the storytelling is incredible. And now we're getting a lot of actors. Look at Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey going back to True Detective. I mean, I heard about that. It's a wonderful show. If you like it, if you like it. And then the thing is, if you don't like it, HBO said, well, go change it to something else. Watch something else. You're paying for it.
I was talking to somebody recently about this True Detective thing. I don't think it was you. It was somebody that was so enthralled by this thing. It's just an excellent story. Actually, they got the format from American Horror. You see American Horror? Have you seen that? Yeah. I just started watching that, and I didn't realize that it was ensemble in this. It was like a theater group. It was like a bunch of ensemble people saying, okay, this year we're playing these characters, next year we're this, next year this. Well, True Detective picked up that format, and now they're going to do it again next season, but it's going to be with 2 different stars. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard Brad Pitt and somebody else is going to be doing it. And a different environment, maybe like not New Orleans, but maybe Atlanta, Georgia, or something like that. So, and that's what American Horror Story does. So. One quick question, because we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. What's got you excited right now that it's in your future?
You see that girl back there? No.
I'll put her on
Sweet talk.
I'm excited about 2 projects I'm doing now. That one of them is an HBO pilot. It's called ESQ. And that stars, I don't know if you know the show Sons of Anarchy, but it stars Dayton Cali from the Sons of Anarchy. He played Wayne for 7 years. And it takes place in a high-ended exclusive gentleman's club. And it follows the 5 lives of those people who run it, who own it. And the owner is Dayton Cali, the actor. And then we have Dre DiMatteo playing the house mother. We're talking to Rihanna to play one of the main dancers. We're not sure if that's going to happen, only because she wants to do the pilot, but she doesn't know she can commit to the episodes. And a great cast, the singer, I spoke to her and met with her. She loves it, but we can't get her to commit to the. HBO needs to have her guarantee that she can do 6 episodes after this. She can't do that because she's going on tour. So I said the other day, okay, it was my idea to bring her in. It's not working. Let's move on. We can't wait. Let's get another actor who can do it. And so they agreed to that. So, and then the other project I'm doing it's a feature film called Johnny Postal, which we're shooting in New Orleans. It stars Steve Buscemi, Dakota Fanning. And I wrote both of these as well. I have a co-writer. My co-writer and I, Rick Martin, we wrote these together. And
I thought you did that, Johnny Postal.
No, Johnny Postal we're still getting to work with that. I want to shoot in New Orleans. I was originally supposed to shoot in New Jersey, but then I went to New Orleans. Aesthetically, it just fits better there. So.
I have one question.
Yeah.
How long did it take to do here and there?
It was brilliant. We did it, and like I said, once we got going, once we had the money released, it was so organized because what we here and there you're gonna see a lot of bridges, viewpoints of the bridge looking over to the city. We had to close that down for during rush hours and all that kind of stuff, and we did it properly. We did it the right way. Darko hired the right people around it, like myself and my other producers, Vlad and George. We worked our asses off on that film, and you'll see that when we started, it was so well organized. From the group like this, sit down, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, boom, let's get it done. And everybody had their jobs, and so it was so well organized. We finished it. We did it. We finished right on schedule, right on budget, everything. We shot 3 weeks in New York after a 4-week period of pre-production. Then we shot 3 weeks in New York. Had 1 week off but the crew had 1 week off. But then we had to prep for Belgrade. Then we flew out to Belgrade and then picked up there for 6 weeks. And and it was just shooting there was brilliant too. I mean, the Serbians were great. They were always there for you. They treated us like kings.
I'm sorry to ask these questions.
No, please. That's what we're here for.
But we said this was a deadpan comedy, or somebody said that. What is it that's funny about this?
It's simplicity, I think. It's the simplicity of it, and the storytelling.
Because it is comical, but there's nothing.
No, it's
not slapstick.
It's not Woody Allen. It's not like Woody Allen or Adam Sandler or something like that. But it's kind of like a Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller does kind of those. It's very low profile, very low key, but it's plausible. And what makes it plausible, and this is what I'll leave you guys with this is I teach too. I get invited to give lectures for film production to NYU grad schools and stuff throughout the country, and I always ask the one question to, you see all these students out there, and I say, what is your job? I say, how many directors do we have? Everybody raises their hand. I say, okay, what is your job as the director? What is your job? They'll raise their hand. I'll say, what do you, well, I got to take care of the actors doing this. I said, what is your, and we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to make sure this is happening. None of them say to tell the story. And that's all our job is to tell the story.
Yeah, it's also interesting to me, and we talk about this thing, is how little the writers are recognizing this whole thing.
Right.
Who wrote the damn story?
But we're going back to what we were talking about, film coming back to TV, the networks, the writers are the kings. The creators of the shows are the kings of the shows, not the director. And that's another people think, film school people, we get out of school, and I know this by experience. I'm going to go direct this, I'm going to go direct that, I'm going to do this. When you get hired to direct these shows like Game of Thrones or Homeland, you got to understand, and they're in their 3rd season. It's your first job, and you're only doing 1 episode. You're not going to come in and tell this actor what he or she's role is going to be about. The only reason is you have the writer who's the creator, or the studio, the HBO cable people behind it. They'll say, okay, this is what's happening this week. We need this. This is what's happening in the story. We got to focus him. We got to make sure this happens here. Blah 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 blah. Then we got to focus on him. Blah blah blah. Now go out and do it. And your job as a director, you don't have time to say, okay, all you actors, let's do exercises. Okay, breathing exercises. There's none of that. There's none of that. They'll look at you and say, you know what, you're getting paid a lot of money, so why don't you go over there and do your breathing exercise? So it's like, and sometimes you have to be humble and say, okay, you guys been here a long time. How do you I see it this way. I want to shoot it this way. And then you compromise somewhere. Well, the actor, I remember Dane Cali was telling us one time, he's a good friend of mine from Sons of Anarchy. He was saying the director came in one time and the actors already worked out the scene that they want, movement-wise and stuff like that. And the director comes in and goes, okay, we're going to do this and that. And they go, no, we're going to do it like this. And he goes, I'm going to start from the window, I'm doing this. And he goes, well, why are you starting by the window? He goes, because I think that's, and they worked it out, and that's the reality of what you're doing. Unless you're Scorsese or you're creating a show. To me, like with HBO, it's different because the whole idea is that I want to create the show and do 3 episodes, because then every director after that has to follow my format. And then I'm the creator of the show, and I'll decide how it's going to go. I don't want to go in and it's a director of 1 episode, because they don't really need you, because you have the writer, who's the creator, you have the HBO, you have the actors who are already there established. They know what they're doing.
I would think you would have some real clashes between directors and writers no, that's not the way I envisioned that scene at
No.
all.
I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be very careful when I say this. The only reason why you need directors on TV shows like that is because it's a union requirement. That's it. Other than that, but you learn how to compromise. Like there's some
That was
good
very
directors.
careful, Frank.
There's some very good directors, like Tim Van Patten's doing a lot of good stuff. You know, he was the kid from Eight Is Enough, I think. Eight Is Enough? Is that Eight Is Enough?
Dick Van Patten?
Yeah.
He was the dad, right?
No,
Dick Van
no,
Patten.
Tim Van Patten.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah, Tim Van Patten. He's directing a lot of those shows now. He's doing like Homeland. He's doing True Blood and stuff like that. There's some good directors that and I would do it. You know, you get paid, you know, but it's you have. My point is you have to understand what the reality of it. It's not. You're not king. You're not God. You're just. It's a collaborator.
Yeah,
It's
you know,
like,
it is amazing to me. We better slow down or stop on this because I'm running out of film.
we're on film.
But, no, but the thing is, isn't
filming?
it amazing the amount of egos, how
Oh.
people change? And one of the things that's interesting is that you just see this kind of gloss on people. It's like, oh,
You know, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it so many times, and you just learn to deal with it. I'm at a point in my career, thank God, that I say, listen, I'm interested. The reason why I left the studio is because something happened with the studio. We were doing a picture called Now and Then with Demi Moore, and nobody in the studio system liked it where I was working. And I'm not going to say who or what, but it's like they didn't like it, but they wanted to do it because they thought it was the girl version of Stand By Me, which was a big success. So Demi Moore, we developed it from scratch. It was her first script coming out as a production company. We came out and I hired people. Everybody worked on it. Blah, blah, we all worked on it. Then, cut a long story short, it was successful. It had Christy Ricci was the star. As Christy Ricci's break, Blake Lively's like it was all. They were little kids, and it was successful. And all the people that worked on it. Most of the people, the studio heads who hated it, took their credit on the poster. And I said, well, wait a minute, you didn't work on it. You didn't even want to support it. And I said, this guy worked his ass off. This lady worked her butt off. And they go, well, studio, you know, I'm executive, blah, 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 you know. And they did that. And I said, you know, I think it's time that I start my own company. And that's why I slowly faded out of that and started my own company. But I'm at a point now where I just say, listen, it's all about the work. You know, it's like the theater days, like back in the theater days. It's about the work. You want to be here, take the responsibility for being here. If you're going to complain to me, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a low budget, or I'm going to tell you it's a high budget. If you're going to complain about it now, walk away. Because once we start, I don't want to hear that. I'll hear your concerns about the character, the role, the story, whatever. If we need to rewrite something, if we need that, I'll hear. But don't come here and say, oh, this is low budget. You know, I can't do this, or I'm going to do it this way. No, that's not, you're not.